app through the overnight hours. Thanks so much for tuning into the Weather Network. Michelle Mackey joining you. West Coast, lots going on. We currently have winter storm watches and winter storm warnings in effect. Winter storm warnings are issued when we have multiple types of severe winter weather that are expected to occur at once. So we have strong wind, the possibility of some freezing rain, mixing, and snow expected through Saturday night into Sunday. Now, through the overnight hours for the South Coast, that's going to be our snow story. Places like Vancouver, Metro Vancouver, we could be seeing anywhere from trace amounts to 10 centimeters of snow, all dependent on the elevation. So the higher the elevation, the higher that number likely to be. Meanwhile, through the prairies, the big story, extreme cold. So cold that Environment Canada has issued extreme cold warnings for portions of southern Saskatchewan, most of Manitoba, and the extreme northwest of Ontario. We are talking about wind chill values through the overnight approaching that minus 45 mark. And you can see Saskatoon, for example, feeling like minus 37. Fort McMurray also feeling like minus 37. Now, Alberta is not in that extreme cold watch just yet, but very likely to be in that warning as we head into the overnight, into tomorrow as well. Meanwhile, in Ontario, we have another reason we're in storm watch. Of course, a convergence of systems merged over Ontario. We have snow to the north. We have freezing rain. That's highlighted in the pink. And further to the south, we have rain. And as we head through the afternoon hours, freezing rain very likely as we head into around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock p.m. Places like Barrie, Orangeville, Guelph, St. Catharines could all be running the risk of some very slick road conditions. And this is all in line with the warm front. It tracks its way north through the afternoon, very likely to see rain and, of course, snowfall on tap. Further snowfall amounts as we head into the higher elevations and northern Ontario. That's when those numbers begin to increase. Let's now check in with Kim McDonald. She has an update on the social media story and what's happening on the East Coast. Thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network. Michelle Mackey joining you as our storm watch coverage continues. We have a system rolling off the Pacific set to hit BC through the overnight. But right now, let's start in Ontario. We have a merging of systems. This that we're looking at right now is a combination of an Alberta Clipper and a Texas low. They have converged over Ontario. They will be bringing mixed precipitation throughout the province. We have snow to the north, freezing rain, that's indicated by the pink, and rain as those temperatures warm up. But the story today, of course, is system snow. We're looking at enough snow through northwestern Ontario to warrant a snowfall warning. This has been issued by Environment Canada, Thunder Bay included in this forecast. We're expecting about 10 to 20 centimeters of snow for the area by the end of the day. Meanwhile, in southern Ontario, we have freezing rain warnings currently in effect. That's the darker red color. Barrie down towards Guelph, London, all in that freezing rain warning. Toronto, not in it, but that doesn't mean we won't be seeing it. We very well could see some freezing rain and definitely some mixed precipitation as we head into the evening hours. Now, in terms of our snowfall amounts for southern Ontario before the rain hits, Toronto looking at about 3 centimeters of snow, generally 2 to 5 centimeters. And again, the big snowfall accumulation numbers have been relegated to the north. In terms of the types of precipitation that we're looking at this afternoon, the pink, that's an indication of the freezing rain, the mixing line, also an indication of where we're looking at that warm front. As we track into the evening hours, that is going to push further to the north. And by pre-dawn Sunday, that is when it tracks further to Eastern Ontario, Ottawa, likely to start the Sunday, the first Sunday of 2015 off in a very slick way. Very road conditions, very icy as we head into your Sunday morning. Now, we also have winter storm watches, winter storm warnings in effect for Quebec, likely to see some freezing rain through Fredericton as we head into tomorrow. Let's now head to the East Coast and check in with Nathan Coleman. Drive-through certainly the way to go on days like today. I did that on my way to work too. Thanks for that, Nathan. Now, in terms of the system that we're looking at on Sunday, again, just to reiterate, it is the same system affecting Ontario and Quebec today. Through the overnight, we'll begin to see the snowfall through Fredericton, generally through northern New Brunswick, 10, 20 centimeters of snow expected, 5 to 10 as we track further to the south towards Nova Scotia. Sunday morning, though, Fredericton, we do run the risk of some freezing rain. Likely to see that late morning around 11, 12, and that will transition to rain for most of our provinces as we head into the afternoon hours. Unfortunately, that winter wonderland, if you like the white outside, not going to last. We have rain on the way with warming temperatures. Here's what we're looking at right now through Ontario. Michelle Mackey joining you. Should have introduced myself. All right, so snow to the north. The pink, that's an indication of where we have freezing rain. And the green, of course, that's your rain. That will be traveling further to the north as we head throughout the day. Now, all of this snow in the north has warranted Environment Canada to issue snowfall warnings. We could expect 10 to 20 centimeters of snow through northwestern Ontario by the end of the day. Places like Thunder Bay really seeing that extensive snowfall. So highlighted areas, that's where we're looking at the snowfall. Here's your amounts. And meanwhile, further to the south, we have freezing rain warnings currently in effect. Owen Sound included, right down towards London and up towards Orangeville. And Orangeville is where we find Kasia Badurka. Let's check in with her. Now, Kasia, it's looking like a winter wonderland where you are, but that's not going to last, is it? Thanks, Kasia, and we'll be checking in with Kasia again throughout the hour, so stay with us because I'm sure we're about to see that freezing rain quite shortly. For this afternoon, this is our type map. Of course, blue to the north, the pink, that's our indication of where we could see freezing rain, some mixing. And I do want to point out Toronto, not in the freezing rain warning, but that doesn't mean we won't be seeing any of it. Now, the rain, that is going to extend further to the north as we head throughout the evening hours, that warm front pushing up. And by your Sunday morning, places like Ottawa could be seeing that freezing rain. Now, before the rain comes, of course, here's what we can expect in terms of our snowfall amount. Places like Toronto looking at about that 3 centimeter mark. Further to the south, anywhere from 2 to 5 centimeters. And the north, that's where we're seeing the most extensive snowfall. Now, as we track into Quebec, that's where we have winter storm warnings and freezing rain warnings in effect. That includes Quebec City and Montreal. Through the overnight hours, we could have very wintry, slick conditions on the road. So if you're heading out, thinking of celebrating the first weekend of 2015, do take a little bit of extra time if you're driving. Now, as this same system tracks east, it will begin pushing into our maritime provinces through the overnight hours into pre-dawn Sunday. It begins as snow, and as we move throughout the morning hours, places like Fredericton could be seeing some freezing rain, Moncton as well, and that's where we will have Nathan Coleman stationed throughout the day tomorrow. Halifax also. Lots of rain. In fact, Environment Canada has just issued a rainfall warning for the Halifax region. We could see 30 to 40 millimeters of rain through your Sunday. But before that, of course, the snow. Generally 5 to 10 centimeters through the province. Similar story as we head to PEI, 10 to 20 centimeters as we head to northern New Brunswick. Let's take you now from the east coast to the west coast, where we have winter storm warnings in effect. This really is a national storm watch coverage kind of day, and this is all thanks to a Pacific low, a reinforced cold shot of Arctic air, snow expected through the overnight hours. Thanks for tuning into the Weather Network as our storm watch coverage continues. Michelle Mackey joining you. Here's one of the reasons why we are in storm watch. We have a convergence of systems that have set up over Ontario. Snow to the north. We're seeing a warm front push up, so freezing rain is coming into play. I'll touch on more of that in just a moment. And rain to the south. And also, tweet us. We would love to hear from you. Join in our weather story. Be a part of it. You can tweet us at the Weather Network or tweet myself at Michelle Mackey. We'd love to hear from you. Now, as we head further to the north, that is where we are looking at winter storm warnings. Those are in effect, and we also have freezing rain warnings for the south, places like Barrie, Orangeville, Guelph, all in that freezing rain warning. So very slick conditions are expected. And as we head throughout the afternoon into the evening, you can see that transition line slowly begins to push further to the north. But let's now check in with Kasia Badurka. She's in Orangeville, where she's starting to see a little bit of a transition from the snowfall earlier to a little bit of freezing rain. How would you describe the precipitation right now, Kasia? Absolutely. Thanks for that, Kasia. Again, we'll be checking in with her through the afternoon hours. Now, in Orangeville, When the rain starts, it is likely to melt the snow, but here's what we can expect before that happens. About 2 to 5 centimeters for the area. Further to the north, Prairie Sound, Barrie, that's where we're expecting higher amounts, 5-10 centimeters through the day's end. Now, as we track into Quebec, that's where we get into more of our winter storm warnings. We also have a freezing rain warning. And just to clarify, when we have a winter storm warning, that is issued by Environment Canada when we have multiple types of severe winter weather that are expected to occur at once. So lots going on through the province. And as we head into tomorrow, we're looking at warnings that are already in effect. Environment Canada getting ahead of the game, letting folks know in Atlantic Canada that we have wind coming, very strong wind, we have snow, we have freezing rain, a little bit of everything. Here's what we can expect through your Sunday morning. Snow to the north of New Brunswick, Fredericton, further to the south, that's where we run the chance of some freezing rain. Moncton as well, that's where we'll be seeing that. Nathan Coleman will be stationed there with us tomorrow. And as we head through the afternoon hours, that's when we begin to see the rain, that warm front, push its way further to the north. Places like Halifax currently under a rainfall warning with 20 to 30 millimeters of rain on tap, locally higher amounts. But before that happens, about 5 to 10 centimeters of snow through the morning hours, higher amounts as we track into northern portions of New Brunswick. Meanwhile, in Newfoundland, the big story, the wind coming from the southeast. We could see gusts over that 100-kilometer-per-hour mark. Our storm watch coverage continues. As we head through the overnight hours, our storm watch coverage continues. Michelle Mackey joining you. Thanks for tuning in. And here's what we're looking at right now through the south coast. Our radar picking up on some mixing, a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, but as we head into the overnight hours, like I was saying, that's when the snowfall really begins to pick up with dropping temperatures. Currently have a winter storm warning and watch in effect for parts of the south coast. That includes Metro Vancouver. Through the overnight hours, we could be seeing anywhere from trace amounts of snow up to 10 centimeters of snow. That is all dependent on the elevation. And with that, as we head to higher elevations into the mountains, places like Terrace, looking at about 15 to 30 centimeters of snow. And as we track across the Rockies into Alberta, Calgary, we are getting some snow through Saturday, 2 to 5 centimeters, and that's all due to some upsloping. Certainly won't be the snowfall that we saw yesterday through the prairies with that Alberta clipper. The big story through the day, as we head into our prairie provinces, cold temperatures, frigid. I don't think the word cold does it justice. We are looking at wind chill values approaching the minus 40s through the evening hours, and that is going to continue as we head throughout the week. Let's transition into Ontario, where we have a separate system bringing with it mixed precipitation. Snow to the north, rain to the south, and we have a mixing line. That's where we are likely to see some freezing rain. Here's our winter storm warning to the north. Freezing rain warning to the south includes the city of Orangeville, and that is where we find our very own Kasia Badurka. Now, Kasia, you look like you're well dressed for the winter weather, but do you have an umbrella? On the way. More on that in a moment, but first, thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network. Michelle Mackey joining you. Let's head to northern Ontario, where we have a snowfall warning in effect. 4 places, including Thunder Bay, highlighted in blue. We could be seeing 10, 20 centimeters of snow through today. So extensive snowfall is expected. Roads bound to be treacherous because we are also expecting plenty of wind. Now, as we head into tomorrow, we are likely to see some clearing through northern Ontario as high pressure moves into place, but this is what we can expect for today for our snowfall amounts. Meanwhile, further to the south, this is our radar. We have rain making its way into southwestern Ontario. Along that warm front, though, the pink, that is where we are looking at freezing rain. And that extends all the way from London north towards Barrie and includes Guelph and St. Catharines, so bound to be slick road conditions this afternoon. Let's check in now with Kasia Badurka. She's in Orangeville, one of the places where that freezing rain warning has been issued. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network as our live storm watch coverage continues. Michelle Mackey joining you now. One of the major reasons we are in storm watch is a convergence of systems that have set up over Ontario, forming one system with mixed precipitation. We have rain to the south, that's indicated by the green, freezing rain in the pink, that's a big concern, and as we track further to the north, that's where we're seeing the snow. Now we do have a freezing rain warning in effect that has been issued by Environment Canada, and Toronto is now in the freezing rain warning. This is quite extensive. It extends from Barrie, Owen Sound, Port Elgin, all the way down towards London, Guelph, all of those included in that freezing rain warning. So that is likely to impact southern Ontario as we head into the late afternoon, early evening hours before we transition over to a rainfall event. Now this system is going to track its way east towards Atlantic Canada by tomorrow, but the big story for today, of course, the freezing rain. Now the transition line this afternoon is around that Toronto, east towards Orangeville and the eastern shores of Lake Huron, but into the evening it's going to push further to the north along with that warm front. We'll see rising temperatures and thus a change in the precipitation from snow to freezing rain followed to rain. But before that happens, what can we expect in the terms of numbers, the amount of accumulation? Generally about 2 to 5 centimeters for southern Ontario, but as we track further to the north, that's when that number really begins to pick up. Places like Kingston, 5 to 10 centimeters through the evening hours. Now let's head to Quebec. This is where we have winter storm warnings in effect. We also have freezing rain warnings. Winter storm warnings, of course, they are issued when we have a variety, multiple types of severe winter weather, all impacting an area at once. This is a quick check of the East Coast. Of course, we have that transition line as well on Sunday morning, tracking further to the north along with that storm front. But before all of that rain, we are looking at extensive snowfall through northern portions of New Brunswick, moderate snowfall as we head into PEI and Nova Scotia. Let's now check in with Kim with a look at what's happening on social media. Thanks so much, Kasha. Yeah, you know what? Roads, when we have freezing rain, that leads to treacherous conditions. I like your advice, Kasha. Stay inside if you can. I'm certainly going to be doing that tonight. Let's get into our coverage. We can see this system. It is a combination of an Alberta Clipper and a Texas low. They have merged over Ontario, but further to the south, near Mississippi, that is where we have tornado warnings in effect along the cold front of this Texas low. But as we track further to the north into options like this, but of course, that snow quickly being followed by freezing rain, and thus Environment Canada has issued freezing rain warnings for much of southern Ontario. They extend Barrie down towards St. Catharines, and also the city of Toronto now is in that freezing rain warning. Here's where we can see the line, the mixing line through Barrie through the evening. As we track into pre-dawn Sunday, we are seeing a warming through the south. That pushes up, and that mixing line transitions towards the Ottawa area. So slick conditions on the road in the city of Ottawa for your Sunday morning. But before we get that rain, here's what we can expect in terms of our snowfall amounts. Generally to the south, less than 2 centimeters, but further to the north, Barrie, for example, 5, 10 centimeters of snow, while Parry Sound upwards of that 10 centimeter mark before we get to the rain. Let's track further to the east now. This is the scene in Quebec. You can see we have winter storm warnings in effect, freezing rain warnings in effect as well. Now, Fredericton, you are also in that freezing rain warning ahead of the system that is set to hit Atlantic Canada through the night tonight and into tomorrow. We start off as snow followed by freezing rain and then rain as we head into the afternoon hours. Let's check in with Kim now with what's going on social media. Key advice as we head into the overnight hours as well. Thanks so much for tuning into the Weather Network as our Storm Watch coverage continues. Michelle Mackey joining you, beginning on the west coast where we have winter storm watches and warnings in effect, and that is all thanks to a strong Pacific system along with an Arctic front. They are going to combine as we head through the overnight hours and through the coastal regions. We are looking at extensive snowfall. Even places like Metro Vancouver, we could be seeing trace amounts of snow, up to 10 centimeters of snow. And again, I do want to clarify that is elevation dependent. So the higher up you are, the bigger those numbers are going to be. And that's a similar story as we head into the mountain areas. We are looking at extensive snowfall for Kelowna, 20 to 30 plus centimeters of snow. I mean, this is good news for
skiers, snowboarders, of course, but if you're planning on driving along any of the mountain passes, do make sure you take care because we do have some special weather statements in effect for those areas. We do have some snowfall, additional snowfall through Sunday as we head into Alberta. This is mostly due to upsloping. Calgary could see about 2 to 5 centimeters of snow. And as we head into our prairie provinces, Saskatchewan and Manitoba, that is where the extreme cold warnings come into play because we have temperatures that look like this. Already cold enough with the temperature alone, but when we factor in those cold northwesterly winds, temperatures are going to be approaching the minus 45 mark. That's your feels like number. So if you're heading out tonight, do take care to bundle up. The less exposed skin, the better, and bundle up the pets as well. As we head to Ontario, snow to the north, rain in southwestern Ontario, and we also have freezing rain. Now we're going to join Kasia in Orangeville, currently under a freezing rain warning. I see you have your umbrella. Are you managing to stay dry? Yeah. Thanks, Kasia. Great advice. Yes, we've had extensive reports of collisions through the area. OPP saying this is in part due to bad weather, but also bad drivers. So go slow. Here's your freezing rain warning. It is quite extensive through southern Ontario, but before the rain comes, this is what we're looking at in terms of that snowfall amount. So here's what we've seen, generally less than 2 centimeters through southern Ontario, higher amounts as we head to the north. And through the evening hours, we're going to see this transition line indicated in pink push further to the north as that warm front pushes up, and it's going to become mostly a rain story through the overnight hours for southern Ontario. Meanwhile, as we head to Quebec, this is where we have winter storm warnings in effect, freezing rain warnings in effect, and the East Coast, lots going on as well. We are going to keep you updated with all of that and more coming up in our extended Storm Watch coverage. Don't go anywhere.
Likely to get worse with freezing rain on the way. Michelle Mackey joining you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at the system. We're looking at rainfall through the south of Ontario. The pink, that's an indication of freezing rain, while further to the north, we're looking at snowfall. So lots going on. It's a bit of a mixed bag of precipitation along with this storm. Now, as we head to northwestern Ontario, that's where we have a snowfall warning in effect, Thunder Bay included. We're looking at upwards of 10, possibly 20 centimeters of snow by the day's end. Meanwhile, through southern Ontario, we're looking at generally less than 2 centimeters of snow. Further to the north towards Barrie, that picks up, and Parry Sound really seeing that snowfall, 10, 20 centimeters of snow expected, all thanks to this system. With a big story for southern Ontario, snow not going to last because we have freezing rain followed by rain on the way. Currently widespread freezing rain warnings, Owen Sound down towards London, St. Catharines and Toronto, all included in this warning, as is Orangeville, and that is where we find Kasia Badurka. Now, Kasia, can you describe the situation on the roads? Are they getting pretty slick? Oh, and Environment Canada has issued several special weather statements for the mountain passes due to those driving conditions. Thanks so much for tuning into the Weather Network. Our Storm Watch coverage continues. Michelle Mackey joining you. We do begin with some radar through the west coast. We have mixing, we have a little bit of snow, we have a little bit of rain, but as we head into the overnight hours, we're going to see a drop in the temperatures and also some snowfall. Vancouver, we could be seeing anywhere from trace amounts to upwards of 10 centimeters of snowfall through the overnight, and that is elevation dependent. The higher the elevation, the more snow we are likely to see. So we currently do have winter storm watches and warnings in effect for the southern coast of British Columbia, and that is all thanks to a combination of a cold front and a Pacific system rolling in off the ocean, bringing with it widespread precipitation. But with that cold front, colder temperatures, we are looking at the snowfall. Wind will also be an issue. Strong easterly gusts expected for the coast, so blowing snow will also be an issue for drivers, as we saw in that video earlier. Tracking across the Rockies towards Calgary, through Sunday night, we are looking at about 2 to 5 centimeters of snow for the city, all thanks to upsloping. And as we track into our prairie provinces, the big story, frigid temperatures, extreme cold warnings in place. These have been issued by Environment Canada, with wind chill values through the overnight approaching the minus 45 mark. That's your feels like temperature. So certainly bundle up if you're heading outside. And we have another big story as we track into central Canada. Of course, this is a convergence of systems, a Texas low, an Alberta clipper, snow to the north, rain to the south, and we are also looking at freezing rain. Extensive freezing rain warnings have been issued, including in the city of Orangeville, and that is where we find Kasia Badurka. Kasia, how is the situation outside? I see you're staying dry with your umbrella, but are people prepared for this?
Thank goodness for this umbrella, Michelle.
Thanks so much, Kasia. Yeah, roads treacherous. That layer of ice really causing some slippery conditions. Michelle Mackey joining you as our live storm watch coverage continues. Let's take a look at this system. It is a merging of systems. We've had an Alberta clipper combined with a Texas low. They have met over Ontario, and we've actually seen some tornado warnings in the Mississippi area along the cold front, the southern portion of that low pressure system coming from Texas. Meanwhile, in Ontario, we have freezing rain warnings that have encompassed nearly all of southern Ontario, while to the north, winter storm warnings in effect. That's a similar story as we track towards Quebec. Freezing rain warnings already in place for New Brunswick ahead of the system's arrival tomorrow. We're looking at that freezing rain through the Fredericton, Moncton area around noon tomorrow, followed by more rain. Here's a taste of some of the warnings that we have in effect ahead of this system for Atlantic Canada. I mentioned the freezing rain warning. We also have a rain warning issued for Halifax and most of Nova Scotia, with about 30 to 40 millimeters of rain on tap for tomorrow. So it's going to be a soaker there, and further into Newfoundland, the western shores, that's where we have our wind warning. Wind gusts could be exceeding that 100 kilometer per hour mark. So gusty, snowy, wintry day. Welcome to 2015. Let's check in with Kim, see what's happening on social media.